If you have a federal student loan, something changed on July 1st that probably affects you. Not eventually, not next year, already, right now. Based on the messages flooding financial aid offices this month, almost nobody actually understands what changed. Financial aid offices at universities across the country have been sending out clarification emails non-stop. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly what changed, in plain English. No legal jargon, no scrolling through a government website at midnight trying to decode it yourself. Just the parts that actually affect your money, explained the way a friend who read the whole thing would. Here's the part most explanations skip completely. This isn't just about future students. One specific rule buried in here can actually reach back and change loans you already have. Let's start with where this actually came from. These changes come from a 2025 law often called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It's a large piece of legislation covering a lot more than student loans. But this specific part touches your education debt directly. The Department of Education finalized these rules earlier this year. They officially took effect July 1st, 2026. It was signed back in 2025, but the actual rules only kicked in this month. That's exactly why the confusion is happening right now, not a year ago. So this isn't a rumor, and it isn't a proposal. It's already the law of the land for anyone borrowing federal student loans right now. Here's the first major shift. The Graduate PLUS loan program is gone for new borrowers, starting this exact date. That was the loan a lot of grad students used to lean on. It covered costs beyond the standard borrowing limit. For years, it let students borrow up to the full cost of attendance, no real ceiling. That flexibility is simply gone now for anyone borrowing for the first time after this date. In its place, there are now hard caps. General graduate programs like most master's degrees now have a cap at $20,500 a year, $100,000 total. Professional programs, things like law and medicine, get a higher cap at $50,000 a year, $200,000 total. So a law student and a master's student in the same financial aid office now face very different numbers. And across everything combined, there's a lifetime limit of $257,500 for federal loans. Parent PLS loans changed too, now capped at $20,000 per year per student. For context, that program used to have essentially no real ceiling at all. Parents also lost a workaround that used to help them out. Consolidating a parent PLS loan into income-driven repayment used to be an option. Under the new rules, that path is closed, replaced entirely by the fixed-tiered standard plan. There's also a change to Pell grant eligibility worth knowing, even if loans aren't your situation. Starting this year, students can use Pell grants for short-term, high-skill training programs, not just traditional degrees. At the same time, eligibility got narrower for students whose costs are already fully covered by other sources. If you're an undergraduate, most of your existing borrowing limits stay roughly the same as before. The bigger exception is part-time students, whose loan eligibility now gets reduced based on enrollment status. Now here's the mechanism almost nobody is explaining clearly, and it's the one that matters most. The repayment plan changes don't just apply going forward. If you take even one new federal loan on or after July 1st, 2026, something bigger happens. All of your loans, including ones you took out years ago, get pulled into the new system. Not just the new loan, every single loan you're carrying. It sounds almost unbelievable the first time you hear it, but that's genuinely how the rule works. From that point forward, you're limited to exactly two repayment plans. One is called the tiered standard plan, a fixed payment plan based on how much you borrowed. It calculates a set monthly payment meant to pay off your loan within a fixed number of years. The other is called RAP, the repayment assistance plan, income-based, with a 30-year term. It works somewhat like the old income-driven plans, just stretched over a longer window than most of those. Older, more flexible income-driven plans simply stop being an option for you at that point. That's the part buried deep in the fine print that almost never makes the headlines. And there's one more piece worth understanding right now. The SAV plan, which many borrowers were using, is being phased out entirely. SAV became popular because it offered some of the lowest monthly payments available for lower earners. Losing access to it isn't just paperwork, it can mean a real jump in your monthly payment. If you're currently on it, you have roughly 90 days once that phase-out starts. That's your window to pick a new plan. If you don't choose one yourself, you get automatically placed into a plan for you. That's not a hypothetical, that's the actual default outcome if no action is taken. Let's walk through what this looks like for a very common, real situation. Imagine a student halfway through a graduate degree, using loans from a couple years ago. Those older loans are currently sitting comfortably in a flexible income-driven plan. Monthly payments have been manageable, tied to their income, exactly as planned when they first borrowed. This coming year, they need one more loan to finish the program, nothing unusual about that. The moment that new loan is disbursed, everything shifts. Nothing about the paperwork that day would have flagged this as a decision about their old loans too. Every loan they have, old and new combined, moves into just those two repayment options. The flexible plan they were counting on for the rest of their loans simply isn't there anymore. Depending on their income, that shift alone could mean a noticeably different monthly payment than budgeted. Nobody sat them down and explained that connection ahead of time. Here's the exact set of questions I'd suggest asking your loan servicer, almost word for word. Am I currently enrolled in the SAV plan, and when does my window to switch actually start? If I take a new federal loan this year, will my existing loans be forced into a new plan? What is my updated borrowing cap under the current rules, based on my specific program? And a fourth one, worth asking directly, what happens to my SAV plan status, and by when? Loan servicers are required to answer these, and getting it in writing protects you later. If you're already enrolled in public service loan forgiveness, here's some reassurance worth hearing clearly. The Department of Education has stated the PSLF program itself isn't changing. New final regulations took effect the same date, but that alone doesn't require existing borrowers to act. Confusion around PSLF has been especially common since so many unrelated changes landed in the same news cycle. Still, it's worth confirming your specific status directly, since individual situations do vary. Now let's clear up a myth that's been spreading around all of this. A lot of people assume, if my loans are already out, none of this touches me. On the surface, that seems like a fair assumption. After all, why would a rule about new borrowers reach backward into something you signed years ago? Rules mostly describe what happens to new borrowers, so older loans should logically be untouched, right? But as we just walked through, that's only true if you never take out another loan again. The moment you borrow even $1 more federally, that changes things. The new rules can retroactively apply to everything you hold. This is confirmed by legal analysts at the National Consumer Law Center, who've been tracking these changes closely. Their reporting specifically flags this as one of the least understood parts of the entire overhaul. So the myth isn't completely wrong, it's just missing one critical condition. Old loans are only safe from these new rules if no new borrowing happens after July 1st. There's also genuine uncertainty layered on top of all this, worth being upfront about. A federal court has already temporarily paused part of this rule. It's specifically about how professional degrees get defined. That specific pause affects how certain programs get classified, which changes which borrowing cap applies to them. Guidance is still being updated as these legal questions get sorted out in real time. Even the rules about the rules are still shifting. That's part of why so much confusion exists. This isn't settled ground even for experts. So if you're a current borrower, here's what I'd actually do with all of this. Check whether you're currently on the SAV plan, and mark your calendar for when that window opens. Before taking any new federal loan, ask directly whether it will affect your existing repayment plan. If you're pursuing public service loan forgiveness, confirm your current status directly through your servicer. And treat any information here as a starting point, not a final answer for your specific situation. Two people with what looks like the same loan situation can end up with different outcomes over small details. The official source for your exact numbers is always studentaid.gov, not a video, not even this one. Even loan servicers themselves have been catching up to these changes in real time, so patience helps too. What we can do here is make sure you're asking the right questions. That beats finding out the hard way. If this actually cleared something up for you, that's exactly why I made it. Every week I break down money and career situations that quietly get more complicated than they should be. Subscribe if you want more of this. If you're navigating this loan situation right now, let me know what's confusing you most in the comments. I'll do my best to dig into it in a future video. This stuff is genuinely confusing, and you're not the only one trying to untangle it. See you in the next one.